All right. Well, great. Well, good afternoon. I appreciate y'all for being here. Those who are here currently, and those who will be joining us or reviewing this session actually virtually. My name is Dr. Bernard Little, and I serve as the Dean for Students and Chief Diversity Officer at Waubonsie Community College here in Chicagoland. I am also the current Regional Director for Region 4 East. Love 4 East and love being able to just be here and serve our region. And one of the things that we wanted to do differently this year is get a feel for who's interested in actually taking on the reins. I think anybody who is willing to step up during times like these deserves a hand clap and a kudos and a thank you so much. But we also just wanted to get an understanding of who they are. We are lucky and really blessed to have three candidates for Region 4 East Director-elect. And just to explain, so I'm not going anywhere until 2023. My term ends 2023, March of 2023. These individuals would actually start, whoever is chosen would start March of 2022, and they would start as elect, and they would actually take over as regional director. They'd be taking over in March of 2023, and they would start their 2-year term, that term ending in March of 2025. So if you can imagine where you'll be in March of 2025, I know it's a new year, but this is a big commitment, and we just want to just say again, thank you so much for your commitment and your willingness to even run. I wanted to take some time and pay homage to the fact that running and putting yourself out there is certainly a risk. We know that we value all of our candidates. They have esteemed resumes, and we value them for their contributions to our region. We value them for their contributions to our profession. And so I just say that to say, there has to be a winner, and there has to be someone who doesn't win. And so it's important to know that we value them, one, for putting themselves out there, but also just for willing to serve and take that risk. And we hope that whoever does win, will certainly utilize the opportunity of the expertise of those who are willing to certainly run as candidates. They all are gracious people, have fantastic resumes, and I hope have some great responses to some questions. For those who don't know me, I'm very real, I'm very raw, I am who I am, and so I just get right to it. And so I just want to start by asking our candidates to introduce themselves and tell us, who you are, however you would answer that. Tell us where you work, how you pay your bills, and then tell us your why, So tell us why you're interested in serving as our regional director for 2023 and through 2025. And so I like to go in alphabetical order to start off. So Dr. Hylton, that means you are first, followed by Dr. Soliz, and then Dr. Strauss.
Thank you, Dr. Little, and good afternoon, colleagues. Happy Friday and Happy New Year to those who I have not had the opportunity to connect with. As Bernard shared, I'm Dr. Lamar Hylton. I have the pleasure and fortune of serving as Senior Vice President for Student Affairs at Kent State University in Kent, Ohio. Very, very honored and excited to be with you all this afternoon, and major kudos to my colleagues who joined me on the ballot, Dr. Soliz and Dr. Strauss. This is really, really an awesome moment. I am a first-generation college student from the central part of Ohio, the north end of Columbus, Ohio, to be more specific. I graduated from a historically Black college in Baltimore, Maryland, Morgan State University, received my bachelor's degree actually in voice performance. And when I tell that story, people are like, voice performance. Okay, how did you end up in student affairs? That's a long story, but a long story less long. I thought music was going to be my career choice. I thought that I was going to live my life on an operatic stage. I was an opera concentration major, and I was going to sing for the rest of my life. And when I got to graduate school, actually at Ohio University in Athens, Ohio, right here in the 4 East region, that is where my love for working with college-age students really percolated. I was on an assistantship doing recruitment and retention work for the college that I was situated in, and realized that that was what motivated me. That's what got me up in the morning to excited and ready to seize the day, was working with college age students, particularly college age students who came from diverse identified backgrounds like my own, who were first gen, who were students of color, et cetera. And so that work really fueled my passion. I ended up enrolling in the college student personnel program at Ohio University, worked in fraternity and sorority life while I was there, and really started my career right here in the 4 East region. I have worked for a variety of institutions around the country, actually. I've actually been situated in 3 different regions, but there is no place like home. And home for me is the 4 East region. I have worked at 3 different institutions in 4 East: Ohio University, Kent State, and also the University of Minnesota, Twin Cities. And all of what I've just described inform my why. It would be my great honor to serve our region in this leadership capacity. I have had a lot of different experiences throughout my career with NASPA at the local, regional, and national level that I think have prepared me beautifully for us to seize this moment, or for me to seize this moment, to help serve the colleagues that are in the phenomenal 4 East region and help us to think about what the future of our profession and our work looks like as we move forward. And so I am looking very much forward to today's conversation and looking forward to the engagement and discussions that will be forthcoming. And again, thank you for being here, and Happy New Year.
Dr. Hylton, we appreciate you. Thank you so much. Dr. Soliz?
Sorry about that. Hi, everybody. I'm Michele Soliz. I currently serve as the Vice President for Student Affairs at Indiana State University. We're located in Terre Haute, Indiana, which is Southwest Indiana. So I didn't know exactly where to start, so I'm glad Dr. Hylton started real early. I, too, am a first-generation college student from Northwest Ohio. I went to Bowling Green State University and had what I always describe as the best 4 years and 1 summer of my life. I had a great undergraduate experience. I went right into the workforce. My undergraduate degree is in ethnic studies. When I was an undergraduate, Rodney King happened out there in LA, and I deemed myself, I'm going to save the world. I took the photocopy of Time magazine. I sent it to my parents and I said, I'm changing my major, because I was an elementary education major. I'm changing my major to ethnic studies, and I'm going to help the country with race relations, and I'm going to save the world. And when I tell that story, I say that I did it 1 rocket at a time at Toledo, and I'm doing it 1 sycamore at a time at ISU. So I worked in nonprofit for a while and in civil service for a while. I was an adult probation officer, which helped prepare me for student conduct work. I came back to work on my master's degree and in higher education at the University of Toledo, and started working there as an advisor. I worked at the University of Toledo for 21 years. I had a wonderful experience there, and I really thought I would retire from the University of Toledo. And then the pandemic happened, and folks started talking about budget cuts. And I said, I'm in charge of my trajectory. And so I brushed off my resume, and here I am. So what is my why? I am, one of my values is service. And one of the things that I want to do is to serve this profession. I have gotten so much out of being a student affairs professional. The leadership opportunities I've had, the experience I've had over these past 2 decades, I think have prepared me to lead in this role. I want to give back when you receive an email from Danita, you say, okay, what can I do to help? And so I answer the call. I want to get more involved in NASPA. And while I haven't been greatly involved in Region 4 East, I would love to work with Bernard, see the great work that he's doing, and do all I can to give back. That's important to me. Thanks for letting me talk about myself.
Of course, thank you. And thanks so much for being here. I appreciate it. Dr. Strauss.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's great to see all of you. Happy New Year to you. And I hope that everyone, your family and your friends and your students and your colleagues are doing well. I'm so honored to be here on the ballot with Lamar and Michele. They're awesome. They're wonderful. And just honored to be here with them. A little bit about me. I've been at Wayne State University as Dean of Students in Detroit, Michigan for 20 years. Well, it'll be 20 years later this month. And so prior to this, I was in different roles at The Ohio State University, and I'm going to say The Ohio State University there because I sit here in the state of Michigan. So I have to emphasize Ohio State, and I was at Ohio State for 11 years. And it's kind of fun on football Saturdays because we hang the Ohio State flag. Both of my kids went to Michigan State. We hang the Michigan State flag, but it was a stab to my heart. And I say that sarcastically when my daughter decided to pursue graduate studies at the University of Michigan. And I did go for one of those divided house flags. But this fall, when Michigan was playing Michigan State, she sent us a photo and she said, I actually turned the TV on. I actually put the game on, but I bleed green. But no disrespect to my colleagues at the University of Michigan. It's a wonderful institution. And I do enjoy jabbing Martino Harmon there about that. But I grew up in Washington, Rockville, Maryland, which is a DC suburb. I went undergraduate at Bucknell University in Pennsylvania, and it was there where I learned that there was a profession of college student personnel. It was the assistant director of student activities who said, you can do this for a career. And, my parents had me destined to law school, and that's a whole other story. But it was Maria Giorgio who said, you can do this. And off I went to Indiana for graduate school, small school in Kentucky for 2.5 years, my first job called Center College, great place. And then off to Ohio State, where I worked and also received my my doctoral degree. I've been here most of my career, and the reason is my wife and I came here. The kids were little, and we said, if we have that opportunity to stay, let's stay. And we wanted to give them, provide them that opportunity for that. And that's why we're still here. My son is kind of sort of following all of us here in this profession. He works for a campus ministry that's an affiliate of Michigan State. So it's kind of fun. A little bit about why NASPA. I've been involved with NASPA. I had the great honor and pleasure of co-chairing the Detroit Regional Conference, 4 East Regional Conference with Bernard. That was a lot of fun, and have had different roles on and off within the region. But when I think about why NASPA, for me, it's about involvement and engagement. And I've had a lot of fun being involved. I'm part of the colleague conversations planning group that is for VPSAs and AVPs. But I was thinking about this, and we might get to this later in the call, but I thought about what could be in an acronym. Us higher ed folks, we love acronyms. And I thought about the word cell. And of course, everything starts with a cell, and each of us is a cell, and each of our students is a cell, and we help them grow. And I thought about connect, engage, lobby, and learn. And for me, we need to help our members connect and engage and get involved in NASPA. Getting involved in NASPA, as we would probably all say, it's not so easy all the time. And we have a lot of folks that want to be involved. We got to help them connect and help them engage. We have to lobby to the national. That's what Bernard does. We have the great pleasure that Danita as our leader nationally, but we lobby, we represent our colleagues, but we also are here to learn. The last thing I would tell you, as my undergraduate major was in economics, and I have the great pleasure of being an adjunct lecturer with our Department of Economics, And it gives me an opportunity. I teach the introductory class, one class each semester, and it gives me the opportunity to really learn about students in their academic pursuits. And I've really benefited from that. But thank you all for joining us this afternoon.
Dr. Strauss, appreciate you. Thank you so much for being here. And thanks to all of those who have joined us. Great candidates, great opportunities. I think from all of them and what you've heard their why, right? Like I feel like we'd be in good hands. And so our job is really to inform you, right, as you think about who to vote for and who's the best fit in your opinion when it comes to the next regional director. And so one question that I have for you is, we're experiencing a time like no other. Our professionals within the field are experiencing demands on their livelihoods that they've never seen before. What does this professional association, and this being NASPA, what does this professional association owe them as they navigate the current terrain? What does it owe them? Dr. Soliz, I'll start with you.
Well, appreciation for one, for the hard work they're doing. One of my visions here at Indiana State is to show staff how appreciative not just I am, but the institution is for the work that they're doing. And I think that as a regional association, we can support the folks that are working in the trenches by connecting them to each other. I know that there are national organizations, ACA, ASCA, where student conduct officers can share information, but I think that we could do that on the regional level as well. What we share is our Midwestern values. Many of our institutions operate the same or have the same state legislatures, and being able to lean on our partners in the region is a way to help our staff to feel valued, to participate, and to really excel in the positions that they're in. So I think that's how the region can help our staff.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Dr. Strauss.
All of us on our campuses have some type of a student care report where the campus community can let us know about a concern, an issue, a problem, a need of a student. To me, what 4 East can be is the care report for our colleagues. Because where do we go when we have a question, a concern, a need, a help, to vent, to share, to get an idea, to just, sometimes we just need to say, ugh. We help our students when they need that. NASPA will be that for all of us. And that's what I want to bring to the region.
Thank you. Dr. Hylton.
Yeah, I think this care for the entire person is really central to the work that NASPA has before it in terms of making sure that we are living the values we espouse as an association. I've had the opportunity to serve as a member of the Future of Student Affairs Task Force that NASPA has convened for the last 2 years. And so we've had this discussion at the national level quite diligently. I think it is about the way that we show care, the way that we demonstrate appreciation, to Dr. Soliz's point. I also think that there are some real tangible ways that NASPA at its largest level of an association can be helpful. Conducting and sharing results for research or from research about pay scale industry trends, or gathering and sharing knowledge about how our institutions are handling budget cuts while prioritizing the staff and student supports that we all face as institutions of higher education, helping staff to manage personal and financial well-being. There are some really key ways that I think our professional associations should show up. I would hope that we could take a good cue from our national leadership to then begin to refine programs and opportunities at the regional level that can move past a simple conference or a simple institute and really begin to dig into how are we equipping our staff members to be successful in this moment, while also looking and keeping an eye on where we're moving as a profession into the future.
Thank you. I appreciate those responses. Y'all are good. I did not give these questions out in advance, so but y'all are on it. So I appreciate that. Next question: the NASPA membership is roughly $75, give or take, depending on your professional affiliation. Professional development dollars have been cut on many of our campuses with no reinstatement of those funds in sight. Tell me why I should invest in a membership. Dr. Hylton.
Well, that's a great point. And it's a question, if I'm honest about it, that I ask every time it's time to re-up my membership. And it's a serious question that I think we all should be pondering. We do not have money trees growing in the backs of our student centers and our residence halls and our administrative buildings. And if you do have a money tree, please tell me where I can get some of the seeds, because I would love to go ahead and plant me a few around my area. We have to be mindful of the ever diminishing and finite resources that we have at our disposal, and really investing those in things that have a great return on investment. And I do believe that NASPA offers a return on investment that could be helpful to colleagues, administrative colleagues, faculty colleagues, et cetera, across our region and across our entire association. We do have great professional development opportunities that do speak to the right now needs of student affairs educators across our landscape. Obviously, there is an inherent networking opportunity as an association, whether we're coming together and convening for regional or national meetings, or we are able to tap into our colleagues within our region in a variety of different ways. The networking opportunities are robust and immense. And I do believe that we need continued pushing, continued honesty, continued transparency around how we make our association better. How do we advance the work of student affairs systematically within our own institutions and across our association? And to do so requires everybody's voice to be heard. There should be opportunities for access to lend that voice and that expertise and that wisdom and that knowledge. And I believe that that investment of financial resources does go a long way in helping further our profession down through the years.
Much appreciated. Dr. Strauss.
When you think about the membership payment, sometimes we can look at it as, remember back in the day before cell phones became smartphones and smartphones became so expensive, back in the day, you got the phone for free. And then they tacked on all the charges and all the minutes, and that's where you spent all your money. And so we might think to ourselves that $75 is not a lot of money if you have an institutional membership. Maybe we can afford the $75. But then when we want to go to a conference, that's where those extra fees come on, and we don't have the funds, because that's going to be at, over $1,000 easily, and sometimes pushing closer to $2,000. So we have to think to ourselves, and then we think about when we promote to students to get involved on our campuses and to join student organizations, the question is, why should I join that organization? So many of our students are in financial need. So many of our students are taking care of their families. So many of our students are working 1 and 2 and 3 jobs. And every dollar and every minute of their time is important. And I think that's the same thing for our colleagues, is why do I join? Where do I make my investment of money, my investment of time, my investment of pursuit? So just like we have to tell our students why and how, we have to tell our colleagues why and how. We have to give them that sales pitch. And the sales pitch is to provide them services and resources and connections and opportunities that don't cost money. Sure, the conferences are great, don't get me wrong. But what can we do to help other than that? And now that we have become comfortable, I would say, living in a virtual world, we know how to log into, I figured out how to use Microsoft Teams. We need to use that. And then NASPA can be and will be of value. I look forward to the Wednesday email from NASPA with all of the workshops and seminars and reading resources. And those don't cost money. Those only cost us $75. The other thing I would say is we've got to beef up our foundation. And I'm saying that because I serve as the co-foundation ambassador with Deanna Wagner for 4 East. So I got to put the pitch in that if we can contribute to the foundation can then support those of our colleagues in need to do research, to get travel scholarships, to get membership scholarships.
Thank you. Dr. Soliz?
So I looked at $75 and I divided it by 12. $6 a month. This is the marketing campaign we have to sell. For 2 coffees a month, you get all of this. I'm going to give you an example of what that $75 did for me. A year ago, Danita and I forget the other gentleman were running for NASPA chair, and I participated in what we're participating right now, and saw her in her glory, talking about what she would do as president. And I contacted her. I had never met her before, and I asked her if we could get on a call because I was applying for vice president jobs. And she replied, and we got on a call. She sent me 10 questions that she typically sees or asks or what have you. And she helped me prepare for this position. I feel like I'm sitting in this chair in front of you because she helped me. And the reason I was connected to her was through this organization. The fellowship, the learning, the collaboration that can come from these organizations, this organization and this region is invaluable for 2 coffees a month. Okay, and David was talking about student organizations. We tell our students to get involved in student organizations for student development reasons. We have to invest in our own development, and this is one of the best ways to do that. So that's what I would say to anybody who's wondering about that $75.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Dr. Soliz. I agree. It's a great investment. And we know that there is many different benefits, and understanding that is important. As regional director, one of your responsibilities is advocating for many different institution types, right? So it's not just the institution types that the 3 of you are working on. You all work on 4-year institution types. Tell me one way you believe advocacy is needed for community colleges. I will start with you, Dr. Strauss.
There are colleagues, there are students, they are key to the education of our population. And more, as we think about our enrollment trends, I can tell you here, as we look at our enrollment trends, we have got to form those relationships, those partnerships, those reciprocal agreements, those matriculation agreements. We have at the MTA, the Michigan Transfer Agreement, because we need to get all of our students across the finish line that they want to achieve for themselves. And we need to let that be known, and we need to let that be heard. We focus so much on the 4-year degree, but we really just need to focus in higher ed is now focusing on the degree. And that value is at the community college. Now we know that our 4-year institutions can feel threatened by the onset and the growth of community college. No, it's helping our students in their journey of an education. And that means collaborating with our colleagues. And there's a lot of those relationships that can come from NASPA because we're learning about the community college. They're learning about the 4-year. We're working together. So it is pivotal because we're all out for students and we're all helping students grow.
Thank you. Dr. Soliz, I'll throw it to you.
I would echo David's comments. At Indiana State, we have a partnership with Ivy Tech, which is just down the road, and students being able to start at that community college but finish at our institution. So being able to collaborate and have a seamless opportunity for students to move from that world to 4-year is important. But I also believe that just the community colleges as themselves should be able to tap into the resources and have a support network for them separate from 4-year institutions. Of course, they have different needs, they have different wants, and so we should be able to cater to the 2-year institution. One of the things I think that we're going to be seeing with the upcoming generations is maybe 4-year degrees isn't what I need. I might be able to get what I need out of an education in 2 years. And so we need to understand that our 2-year institutions need our resources as well.
Thank you. Dr. Hylton.
So as somebody, I've been on the regional board for a number of years now for 4 East, and some of my most amazing experiences and opportunities for learning have come from our colleagues who are situated on a community college campus and or representing the needs and of the community colleges by way of our community college division of NASPA. I think that this is certainly an underutilized and underdeveloped space within our association that really could have a lot of power in terms of propelling us forward. Obviously, the exploration of the impact of national issues that impact our community college context certainly is a benefit to our organization. We cannot talk about the totality of the landscape of higher education without talking about how our community colleges play a central and key role in that discussion and in that conversation. And so I think it's incumbent upon any leader, regional director or otherwise, to ensure that there is an inclusive voice as we are deliberating about matters pertaining to the region or the association that incorporates the community college perspective, as well as any other diverse identified institution that we would work with. I know your question was surrounding the community colleges, Bernard, but I would probably say the same rings true for HBCUs, minority serving institutions, et cetera. And so how are we thinking about inclusivity at its broadest form, recognizing that we do have myriad needs, obviously things like workforce development, access and affordability, are really macro level issues across the landscape of higher education that impact student affairs and that are largely the bread and butter of our community college systems around the country. And so I think it's disingenuous of us as a profession to say that we are and espouse that we are committed to these issues and yet have that really be centralized and focused on the 4-year experience to the detriment of our 2-year institutions. And so we do have to do better about making sure that there is inclusive voice and that we have opportunities for community colleges to both lead and for colleagues around our association to learn about the context and the nature of those institutions.
Thank you. I appreciate that. You're absolutely right. I can say that I can ask the question about community colleges, 1, because I work at the community college, and 2, because I'm in charge of this thing here right now, just for this moment. So, but I appreciate that. And I agree with you 100%. It applies to all of our institution types. So thank you for that. We're going to switch gears a little bit and give you an opportunity to tell us something that we may not know about you. So tell us something that your resume doesn't say, right? About who you are, maybe as a person, as a leader, however you want to do that. And so I'll give you some time to, what we will get we have your candidate materials, we have your resume, we have stalked you on Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn and all that stuff. We want something that, we wouldn't necessarily know. Tell us who you are. And that just one thing. I will start with, why don't we start with Dr. Soliz?
Oh, you got me. I'm trying to think. My first thought was I tried out for the Wheel of Fortune, and I was a backup. If somebody wasn't able to go or didn't win, I was next up. I never got the call, but that's what I always think of when we do icebreakers and you get this question. But I would say not everybody knows that I'm a Mimi. I have a 5-year-old granddaughter, and our thing is coloring and Play-Doh. And she's still in Ohio. She's 5 hours away, but on Saturday and Sunday mornings, if I'm not in an event, you will find me at my kitchen table coloring, and sometimes via Facebook, coloring with my granddaughter. Family is very important to me. I'm sure you would see that on my Facebook, but this role of Mimi is one of my favorites, and I love to color. It's a great way to relax. So there's a little bit about me.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Dr. Hylton.
Okay, so Dr. Solis took part of my answer about the family, so I won't go there. But if you could see right beyond the left side of my computer right now, you would see 2 fantastic little women. I call them my little women. My little girls are in the office with me right now because it's early dismissal from school. So Daddy had to go be on daddy duty while being with you all at the same time this afternoon. So I shared a little bit earlier that I got my degree in music. And so what you may infer from that, but I'll confirm for you, is that yes, I am an operatic singer by training. I have spent countless years studying the craft of operatic singing. I have sung at some of the more major opera houses and concert halls around the country and around the world. And I actually was afforded the opportunity to get a degree from Morgan State because of Trio Upward Bound. So what you may not also know is that I am a huge proponent of Trio Upward Bound. I'm a product of Trio Upward Bound. It is exactly the reason why I'm sitting here before you today. They introduced me to Morgan. They made me sing on the spot. The day that I met the director of the Morgan State University Choir, I had to sing on the spot, was not prepared, sang an Italian aria with no music, my Lord. But I got that scholarship because of that moment. And so I credit Upward Bound for getting me to Morgan. But I love opera. I love the joy and the passion and the fury that comes with operatic performances. I don't sing as much now in my current life. Life has changed dramatically since undergrad, but I still do find time to sing in church. That's where I got my start with singing, actually, is in the Baptist church. I still do that till today. And I still love going to performances as often as I can to see operas, and now, exposing my family, my girls and my wife and my parents and all of the people that love me to the wonderful world of Mozart and Verdi and Wagner.
You're kind. I appreciate. I knew that, but it's good to know that. That might be something we use later on in life. That's for sure. I appreciate that.
Now, I didn't say that I combine my worlds. Let me be very clear about that. It is rare that I combine those worlds, but I do have love for both of the worlds that I'm attached to.
Well, thank you. Thank you for the clarification. Dr. Strauss.
I got to say before I start, I know Lamar. I've sat on committees with Lamar. I think so highly of Lamar. I don't know Michele, but I think highly of you from what you're saying today, but I never knew this about Lamar and opera, and that is so cool. And Bernard, I can't believe you have not gotten Lamar up on the podium at the conference to sing. So I think we got to have that either in Baltimore or we've got to have it in Chicago at 4 East, 4 West. Okay, and Lamar's involved with that conference, so I think that's who's going to kick us off there, right? But I think that is so cool, Lamar. About me, the trivia that I use about myself is I was born in the United States, but not in a state. I was born in Washington, D.C. And then the trivia I use with students that they're like, what? Is the very first concert I went to was 1977 Queen News of the World Tour. That was the album that had We Will Rock You on it and We Are the Champions. Back in the 70s, kind of everything happened at Arena Rock. And my parents would not, I won the tickets on the radio. My parents would not take me. I had a cousin that to this day is kind of the rock guy. And he took me, and there were these people a couple rows in front of us, and they had this device, and it was like puffing out smoke, and they were going like this. And I said to my cousin, who's about 10 years older than me, and I said, what are they doing? And he said, don't worry about it and don't tell your mother. So, because it was probably something that we deal with when it comes across our desks. But like Michele and Lamar said, family is key. My kids are older, but what I tell my staff, I've got staff that got youngins, and I said, family comes first. Do not miss the school recitals. Do not miss the Halloween parties. That comes first. Family first. Job will always be here, but those recitals and holiday parties will not be. And that family comes first. And then for hobbies, for me, I enjoy woodworking. I enjoy gardening and being outside in the yard and fixing things around the house. And I swim. That's my recreation, and my me time is to do laps.
Dr. Strauss, we appreciate that. We learned more about you. I knew a lot of that stuff as well, but it's good to hear that. So thank you. Dr. Strauss, you leaned on this, and so I'll just pose this question to the group, right? Like you just shared with us, right? Don't miss this and don't miss that, right? Prioritize family. And we work in a field where up until, recently, it didn't seem as though professionals prioritized our time. Especially institutions that are maybe not in student affairs, and even those who are in student affairs didn't prioritize the time of their staffs, the needs of their staff, whether that is pay, whether that is flexibility, whether that's opportunity, whatever the case might be. And we're seeing a resignation boom like none other. And before we speculate on why, right? We don't want to speculate on why. We know why in a lot of cases, and some of those cases are individual. What I am wanting you to share is, okay, so what do we do? What is our obligation as a profession to respond to these things that we have not responded to before? And now that we're being forced to respond to that. And so what do we do, and what would you do? What would you empower your board and your team to make happen? Dr. Strauss, I'll start with you.
That's what we all face. We all face difficult times in hiring. We're seeing less resumes come through. So what do we do to turn it around? Like Lamar mentioned, there's no money tree in the backyard, and it's difficult to lobby for significant increases in pay for staff. We try, but it is difficult. I think what we have to do, so I don't want to go on and on. I can speak for myself. I got into this profession because I enjoyed the experience. I enjoyed the fact that I'm not sitting behind a desk, that I'm not, I have a friend that works at one of the auto companies, and every meeting is scheduled on the 15th. You don't even call a person. You just schedule the meeting on the 15th. And so for us, you're working in an experience, and the experience should be part of your life, but not your life. So if you want that experience to be seeing your student athletes Saturday afternoon or Tuesday night at a volleyball match or Saturday at a football game, that's part of your job and work experience. And you need to then provide that flexibility to not have to be in the office at 8:30 every morning, but to think about, and we lead our staffs in, what is your work experience and how does that fit into your life and your hobbies and your family? And then we weave that throughout the experience so that we are serving our students, but we're also serving ourselves. Certainly we provide travel money if we can, although we know that's been diminishing. So I think it's about, we're offering you the experience.
Appreciate that. Thank you. Dr. Soliz, I'll go with you next.
Well, I think one of the things that we learned from the pandemic is that we can do some of our work from home. Certainly students are paying to have people here that are supportive of them, but that doesn't mean that one day a week somebody from the office can't do their emails and that sort of thing from home. A lot of people are leaving this profession because other professions are letting them work from home, are figuring out how they can work from home. So while not everybody's going to be able to work from home 100%, I think if we all put our heads together, we can figure this out. And the answer isn't working from home. There's study after study that shows that people need to feel appreciated, and we have to do more of figuring out how do we show our staff that they are valued, that we need them. I also think that we need to figure out the career ladder and being able to provide for a young new staff member, what is their trajectory in this profession? I just met with a graduate assistant yesterday for lunch who works in the rec center and said, hey, I think I really want to work in multicultural, but I don't even know how to find a job there because all my experience is in the rec center. And I also want to be you someday. How do we help our young professionals to figure out this trajectory? Those are the types of things that we could be talking about at the board level and in the national level about how do we scaffold this for our professionals? How do we figure this out? Obviously, it's a complex problem, right? And if it were an easy one, we'd have an easy answer. So, but I think we can do anything when we put our minds together and try to focus on how do we help people to have that work-life balance, to be able to do things like work from home. How do we show staff that we appreciate them, and how do we show that trajectory of this is where you can be in 5 years, 10 years, etc. I think those are all great goals for our organization.
Thank you. Dr. Hylton.
So addressing the care of our staff and calls for the calls we've heard loud and clear for greater work-life balance, and doing so through structural and systemic changes is what is critical to the sustainability of our profession. Before we even get into the work, though, the association has to acknowledge that there is in fact an issue, that there is in fact a problem afoot, and be very diligent beyond the one-time experiences of task forces and work groups to really figure out how do we embed this this work in the day-to-day going about of our association. And I think that is where our regional leadership, our regional colleagues really come to the forefront of that work. And so as regional director, I think it's incumbent upon the leader to advocate for the needs of the region that they are situated in, to be able to hear very clearly from the constituency of the region about where the issues lie, to ensure that NASPA is remaining true to its commitment to hearing from all voices. It cannot just be the regional director. It should not be just the regional directors that NASPA is listening to. It needs to hear from the people who are directly impacted by the experience. So if we are talking about training up the next wave and next generation of leaders, then that new professional voice, that mid-manager voice, that graduate student voice, that undergraduate student voice, all matters just as much as the VP's voice, as the regional board's voice, and as the NASPA board's voice. And so we've got to create access points for those voices to be heard. It's not saying that everybody has to be on the board in a position. It is to say, though, that everybody should feel that they have some type of avenue or outlet for their voices to be heard. And then once the voices are heard, let's not sit around and pontificate on what we've just heard. Let's move to action. Let's create some demonstrable steps that we can take to really begin to address the issue, whether that is pay, whether that is care for the staff, whether that is greater flexibility in the way that we work as student affairs educators, whether that is all of the above combined and more. How are we then moving from what we've heard and listening to action? How are we equipping institutional leaders, presidents, chancellors, vice presidents, vice chancellors with the tools that they need to be successful in the interactions with their student affairs colleagues? How are we equipping student affairs educators to know where to go and what to do when they would like to see something furthered either on their campus or across the field? How are we working with our graduate preparation faculty, the ones who are responsible for providing the curricular delivery for academic credentials that get us into the field? How are we equipping those faculty members with the tools and resources they need to equip the next wave of generation of leaders? This is an all hands on deck issue. NASPA certainly has a great role and is poised, really, in my opinion, to provide leadership in helping us weather this moment. I also think about, I know, Bernard, your question was contextualizing those who are leaving, but I don't want to forget the people who are staying. And how are we building upon the skill sets of the people who still remain with us to retain them and to allow for them to leverage their voices and their leadership expertise in helping us address this really, really pivotal and crucial moment across our field.
Thank you, Dr. Hylton. I appreciate that. And it sounds like Emily and Madison agree with you. We hear them in the background.
Don't you hear them?
Thank you. Thank you. Listen, we don't like to close out without having the last word. And instead of you telling us, why you should be the chosen candidate for these individuals to vote for, I want to give the context of you answering that in 1 minute or less. Of there's some folks on this call, and there's some folks who will view this video who feel as though NASPA has left them out, whether they're a graduate student or those serving graduate students, whether they're working in a rural campus or just maybe one of the only at their institution who might be a NASPA member. 60 seconds or less, right? Why should they continue to stay invested with NASPA? Why should they continue to encourage their graduate students, their students, to invest in NASPA? And why should they do that under your leadership? I am going to start here with Dr. Strauss. And I'm timing everybody, so 60 seconds.
First off, I want to thank Bernard for having this and Jeffrey for setting it up. I want to give best wishes and best of luck to my colleagues who will be running, Michele and Lamar. With that being said, we tell our students that one of the keys to success in their college experience is to get involved and to attain leadership opportunities, to learn, to grow, and to excel. We look at our theories, right? Involvement, connected. That's what NASPA needs to do for the members. We hear that again and again. It's hard to get involved. It's hard to get connected. Nobody replies to my emails. If we want our colleagues to be successful and benefit from their NASPA experience, then we need to help them involve, connect, and grow. And that's what I will bring as RD.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Dr. Strauss. Dr. Hylton.
Thanks, Bernard, for this. And thank you again, colleagues, for being here. And I echo Dr. Strauss's thanks to my fellow colleagues who are on the ballot with me, to you, David, and to you, Michele. Thank you so much. It's been an honor. I would point people to my candidate statement. If you haven't read it, and my vision for the region is for the region to rise. And similar to what was shared earlier, we love an acronym in student affairs. So RISE means reimagining our leadership structure to create those access points, especially around the new professional and graduate student experience. It is investing in those experiences that would be most beneficial for our colleagues to develop around, particularly in the areas of social justice, equity, diversity, inclusion, and belonging. It is streamlining our current programmatic offerings to allow for those finite resources that we talked about earlier to be leveraged in such a way that get the most benefit and bang for your buck. And it's enhancing the voices of the regional colleagues around Fort East, taking those voices to the national board and really being an advocate for the needs of this region to the NASPA board. RISE, let's rise together as a region. And I would certainly look forward to helping our region elevate in that manner.
Thank you. Dr. Soliz, we're saying, how do we, and in wrapping up, we're asking the question of, so now how do we convince those who don't feel served by NASPA to stay engaged under your leadership? And we're giving you 60 seconds.
Thank you. Sorry, I was having some technical difficulties. Can you hear me okay?
We can, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, I feel like I mentioned that I haven't been hugely involved in the region. I feel like I bring a fresh perspective. I've certainly had leadership roles in other organizations, and I really think we need to take a look at, as a group, what we can do to get more people involved. And certainly, I've written about some of the strategies I think that we can use, and I've also given some ideas here. But we really need to focus on the staff and showing how we can help them in their career trajectory. Also, in giving back to the national organization, how can we help serve at the national level and contribute? How can our region contribute to what they're doing? So I think collectively working hard on all of those areas, we will be successful. And I look forward to possibly serving the institution or the organization in this way.
Thank you, Dr. Soliz. Dr. Strauss, Dr. Hylton, Dr. Soliz, we appreciate you. Appreciate your time. Thanks, everybody, for taking the time to be here. We will send this recording out. We encourage you to make sure that you are voting, reviewing the candidate materials, and voting. And we look forward to having one of these fantastic people serving 2023 to 2025. Enjoy the weekend. Stay safe, everybody.
Take care. Bye-bye.